The Beach FM Business Lunch Show, brought to you by PlaceMakers Kapiti and Horowhenua. Together we're building New Zealand.
Welcome back to the Business Lunch Show on Beach FM 106.3. Well, let's talk health now. Let's talk pharmacy. Let's welcome to the show a new owner of the Raumati Pharmacy. It is Martin Lowis. G'day, Martin.
Hey, Damian. How are you?
I'm good, Martin. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hey, mate, first and foremost, what we like to do on the Business Lunch Show is get to know the people that we're talking to, and especially new owners in the community. So where did you come from, mate? What's your background and what led you to Raumati Pharmacy?
Interesting story. Started off, of course, in South Africa. Qualified there and had a couple of businesses there for about 25 odd years. Had a couple of pharmacies. We had a little chain of 4 pharmacies and a little wholesaler that we ran down in the southern part of South Africa. And then around about 2012, we decided we have to start looking around. As most people will tell you, things in South Africa got a bit weird and management got a bit strange. Yeah. So we decided to have a look around. Everybody was hoping things would, go better in South Africa, and unfortunately they didn't. So we started looking around and considered some opportunities. Came to New Zealand on a sort of look around and look and see what it's all about tour, and decided to stay because it's such a lovely place. Just fell in love with the place, of course. And I walked into the offices of Green Cross. At that stage, it was still known as Pharmacy Brands in Auckland, and said, right, I need a job. And they sorted me out with a job down in Alexandra, down in Otago. So went down there with the family, and we lived there for about 4 odd years, sort of settling in. It was a fantastic place to live, and I think it was an amazing introduction into New Zealand life. The southern people are just very accommodating and fantastic people. Absolutely. So we sort of just settled in and just really loved the place. Always knew we wanted to settle in the North Island if we could, long term, just because we did love this area when we first toured around here, and sort of thought this would be very much like like back home. Sort of southern part of South Africa is very similar to this part of New Zealand, climate-wise and stuff like that. So we thought, well, if an opportunity arises, we'll have a look at it. And then Green Cross had this opportunity at Coastlands, at the Life Pharmacy Coastlands. So shot for it and got the job and moved back up here. So that's how I ended up at the Kapiti Coast, and must have loved every moment of it being up here. So we moved up here probably exactly 2 years ago. Actually, I had to look on the other day, and I think that was the 22nd of August that I first planted my feet up at Coastlands, and started up there. At that stage, it was a big shop with lots of challenges and huge staff, and we really sort of dug our teeth into it. It was a fantastic challenge and loved every moment of it. Fantastic staff there and fantastic people. And then as time went by, I think we sort of steadied the ship and thought we've done as much as we could. And this opportunity came up to be part of the Raumati Pharmacy and the Wellington Associated Pharmacists who bought it, and it just jumped at the chance.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. So it's a classic story I've heard on this show over the last 5 months. Is we came for a holiday and we ended up staying. So welcome. I love it. I absolutely love it. And yeah. So tell me, mate, you go from running 5 pharmacies and an outlet store to coming in here and grinding away. What you had all that business and leadership behind you. How was it just going back to simpler times and just grinding away for a bit?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, when we decided to make the move out of South Africa, we did sort of consciously decide to simplify things a lot. I mean, it's one of those things, you look at your kids and you think to yourself, right, how did you get so big and what did I miss and where was I when this and this happened? So it was a conscious decision to sort of scale back a little bit and not be as busy with everything going on. So I was very prepared to sort of, and that's why one of the reasons, back in South Africa when I was an independent pharmacy chain, I was the corporate guys were the enemy. And I thought to myself, never work for them and never go that route. And that's the first place I went to look for a job when I got to New Zealand. So it was, just because I thought it would be a lot easier to just have a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And scale down a bit and do the quality. The reason we knew we were going to have take a huge financial hit moving over to New Zealand. You can't get money out of South Africa easily. So we, and getting rid of all the assets and stuff over there. So we knew we were going to. It's not going to be. We're not swapping apples for apples or that sort of thing. So we came over with the idea of having quality life, and that, if you can't have quality life in New Zealand, then there's something wrong with you. You need to assess your idea of quality. So we actually came with that idea, and I think that's what we did, and it is a step back, and I think there's always that part of you that stays hungry for more and wants to do more, and not quite satisfied with just doing your regular 9 to 5. But luckily, I think in the industry I'm in, there's always opportunities, and there's always ways to sort of make sure that you sort of satisfy that need to do a bit more and achieve a bit more. If you look around a bit, I've been really active in training the young intern pharmacists and being involved with the Evolve program that train intern pharmacists. Try to be involved with them as much as I can and help young pharmacists get into the industry and stuff like that. And that's been a really good outlet for me for that as well.
It sounds like a move that was brought on balance has led to, is that still very much a focus now back in management, ownership, and now mentorship, but that whole balance, is that key to your success in a way?
I think so. I think definitely. I think I measure my success in that sort of way a lot. I was looking at through my diary the other day, and one of the things I wrote in my diary first day I got it for the new year was my passion for success is only exceeded by my passion for creating success. And I think it's one of those weird things that I sort of live by as time goes by. It's just a lot more rewarding sometimes to see other people succeed. It's great if you succeed yourself, and if you're not succeeding yourself, it's hard to inspire other people anyway. But if you see people succeed and you feel you've had a little part in what they've done and what they've achieved, it's just, it's a really good high to be on.
Absolutely. And I've noticed in mentoring over the last few years myself, the more you give back, the more you get in return as well. And it's all good seeing everyone else succeed as well. But let's be honest, we're driven, motivated people, and that's what we want to do ourselves. So.
It's true. And I think that sort of translates in when you do mentor somebody or when you do teach somebody. I think you never learn as much as when you teach, and the more you sort of revisit certain principles that you're trying to teach to somebody, the more you sort of go, tend to lean that way yourself and enforce those principles in your own life.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So you're here now at Raumati Pharmacy, which has a legacy in itself with 30 plus years. How have you found the little community down at Raumati since taking ownership?
Oh, it's fantastic. Obviously we had huge, boots to fill with the previous owners, David and Simone. They were there for 30 years, and they really cemented themselves into the community. And it's a fantastic community. If it wasn't for the fact that they were so accepting and just fantastic people, I think we would have really struggled because just the bar was set really high with the previous owners, but the people have been fantastic. I must say, when I heard about the opportunity, you sort of go, yes, this is it looks like the sort of place I would love and love to sort of sink my teeth into. And then you start hearing about, these fantastic people, David and Simone, and then you start thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to keep that up? It was really daunting, and it still is sometimes. You get people that walk into the pharmacy and they take one look at this foreign guy and then they go, I wonder. So in certain regards, you sort of have to try and be better than the previous guys, just to be the same. And the service that they gave was just fantastic.
Oh, the goal of being a fabric of the community for sure. Just learn a lot of names, mate. You'll be sweet.
Yes, yeah, I reckon that's probably the key to it all, and that is something that we're really trying to do, and it was hard. I mean, as you know, we took over right in the middle of the lockdown, on the 1st of April, so we didn't get to see any clients, you know, and when we did get to see them, they were behind a mask, and we weren't allowed to go any closer than a couple of meters. So it was a tough time to take over in that regard, you know, and you get to know people over the phone a little bit, because we had hundreds and hundreds of phone calls every day, and just trying to you know, continue with delivering the service. But it was tough, and we only really got to know people after lockdown ended, and they could actually move into the pharmacy freely.
Yeah. Oh, and relate back to the script. Let's talk about this now that you brought it up. A global pandemic taking over a new business. First and foremost, the global pandemic, regardless of the business. How you in the industry of health and medicine and science, what were your thoughts? How were you feeling during the time?
Oh, it was a bit surreal, I think, as it was for everybody. You know, it's one of those things that you watch, you look at some of the zombie movies on TV, and you immediately, when somebody goes global pandemic, that's what your brain wants to imagine and wants to tell you what's going to happen. And you know, people start walking into the pharmacy with masks on, and you start believing it. You start thinking, oh, here they come. So it was tough. It's a bit of a surreal thing to sort of think about, and it's still a bit surreal if you think about, you know, what's going on outside of New Zealand. I think, you know, that's the problem with living in a country that got onto it quickly and stamped it down quickly. You know, memories can be very short, and people sort of immediately start complaining and go, well, why can't I go to Australia now? Why can't I go to the Gold Coast now? And I really want to go on holiday, and I really need to go on holiday. But the fact is, it's not under control out there yet. Just because things are pretty under control here and was clamped down pretty good. You know, it's a bit of a problem still, and it's still a bit surreal to think about the fact that people out there are still really struggling day to day with it.
Did you see any crazy? You know, we hear of the supermarkets, the toilet paper, etc., the flour gone for weeks. But did you have any of that craziness? You know, people stocking up on vitamin C or any of those stockers?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first part of the lockdown, I was still at Coastlands, and it was mayhem. I mean, apart from the fact that, of course, all your regular procedures and structures that you had in place for, you know, when you receive a new prescription, the process that it goes through until it reaches the patient was suddenly turned upside down, because suddenly the doctors weren't seeing the patients; they were faxing and emailing scripts, masses and masses of quantity of scripts that came through, and then also we had to deal with the retail side of it, which was also crazy. I mean, so we in pharmacy, unfortunately, we've always got the best and the worst of both worlds. We've got the healthcare side of it and the professional side of it, and then we've got the retail side of it. And the retail side was as crazy in every pharmacy as it was in every retail store. You know, you have fantastic people that are sensible and think ahead and plan ahead, and then you have people that sort of tend to go off their rocker a little bit when they're under pressure. And it tends to not only believe misinformation, but tends to spread misinformation as well. And those guys just went a bit mental. Unfortunately, they did panic buy and overstock and hoard a lot. And the moment you put restrictions on, then you're the bad guy, because now you're the guy that's preventing them from looking after their family the way they feel they should be. It was really hard. And on top of that, of course, we have the professional side as well, where we were the first point of contact for a lot of people when they start feeling ill and start feeling sick. They were not allowed to go into the doctors. They were not allowed to see the doctors. So they just either phoned or walked into the pharmacy. And obviously, a lot of people were under stress, and obviously a lot of people were under a lot of pressure. So they reacted a bit differently than they would normally react, and there were staff that were a bit abused, and people said things that I'm sure they thought about later and might not have been necessary to say and do. So it was pretty surreal in some regards, and sometimes you sort of lose your faith a little bit in people's reaction and humans' reaction. But then again, we're all human. We all have our interesting quirks, and when you put under pressure, those quirks tend to come out a lot stronger.
Absolutely. Hey, mate, you talk about the craziness of everything and how, whether we'd be here or not. But let's talk about the key to everyone's success and business. How were the staff? How did they cope through it? How were your team?
The teams were amazing. I mean, it's one of the things that we were just amazed every day with the people coming in, staff coming back to the shop or volunteering to do extra things and harder work. And we, on both sides, I mean, when I was still at Coastlands with a huge team that we had to sort of manage really well and make sure that we got through the masses of workloads that we suddenly put and the masses of pressure that they were suddenly put under. And also coming to Raumati Pharmacy with a smaller team, but also I would say just as much pressure or even more pressure in certain regards, because they have that level of service that people were still expecting to be able to get. And they responded really, really well to it. And if you think about it, when you go into healthcare as a profession, you know that you're going to be exposed to certain things, and you're going to have to handle things in a certain way. And so you've got a certain either personality type or you learn things or skills over time. But a lot of the staff that we employ in pharmacy are retail people. Our biggest numbers are usually in the retail section. Yeah. And these people, I mean, they never ask to be in the front line, and they never ask to be exposed to all sorts of things and abused, of course, in some regards, which was really unfortunate. Especially when they themselves are under pressure and they themselves are really stressed and worried about the fact that, I might be getting something from this patient, or contracting some virus or some disease from this patient and taking it back to my family when I go home tonight. So that added pressure to what they were doing. And still, they rocked up every day and did their thing and battled through the storm and took all the things from, sometimes insults and sometimes abuse from people. And just kept smiling, and next customer got the same smile as the previous customer, even though sometimes they weren't really up to smiling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they were amazing. It's amazing to see people rise to the occasion when they have to, and how they handle it.
Absolutely. Shout out, team. Awesome. Hey, mate. Now we're back in level 2. How's things in place for you guys? Is it still a bit chaos? Are we a bit calmer now? Do we know what we're in for, and we're kind of already, prepared for it?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent that there's definitely when level 2 was announced and level 3 in Auckland area, there was that moment on that Friday. I think people got just a little bit worried and a bit stressed, and you could see there was immediately a little bit of a change in people's attitudes and people coming into the shop and speaking a bit differently, wanting a bit more, expecting a bit more, and maybe even trying to sort of plan a bit ahead. But definitely not as much as it was the first time around. And I think people were more prepared and sort of, I think, probably had a bit more trust in how the situation was handled previously.
Yeah.
And the knowledge, of course, of, it worked previously. We got through it, and everybody did well and handled it well. So I think people were a bit more prepared and a bit more knowledgeable about what was going to happen and what might happen, and weren't that panicky and weren't that worried about it. And from our side, I think the same. I think we, because the systems were sort of all changed and had to be changed in a hurry and forced to do things a bit differently. Though most of those systems are well in place by now, and we've sort of straightened out most of the kinks in it. So I think for us it was it was basically our business as usual. Like we were right through the COVID. I mean, we still had to sort of do business and be there every day. So we knew we could handle it. So I think in that regard, just the fact that we had a bit of hindsight, and we knew we could handle it and we could get through it if need be. That calmed people down a little bit.
Absolutely, mate. Well, I've already taken up so much of your time. I haven't even talked change of seasons coming up. We haven't talked what even like products in store. Mate, I am going to put a cap on it because I think we could do this again easily. But lastly, what I always ask, the last question is, where can we find you? How can we get in touch? And yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity again, Damian. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we're down in Raumati Pharmacy in Raumati Road, down in the village. And it's a fantastic little community and a fantastic little shopping area and just very vibrant, lots of interesting stuff to do and experience around, and the beautiful beach, of course, just down the road. So, and we're there every day of the week, from 9:30 down to 5:30. I'm usually there at about 8:30 anyway. So just to help the people out that are taking their kids to school, we've got a big primary school just next door. And yeah, we've got fantastic staff. We're at the moment launching a little Facebook campaign to sort of try and get people to tell us what they would like to see in the store. A little competition going to sort of make people more aware of the fact that we are going to do a little revamping and get some new products in and things that people might have been looking for over the last couple of years. So we're going to launch a little competition and just ask people what would like to see in the store, what services we can add to our growing list of services that we do provide, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's as I say, I just feel every day you wake up and you're grateful for having a place like that to go to.
Absolutely, mate. Well, thank you, Martin, so much for your time today, mate. Go well. I'll come and see you soon, mate, and we'll have another catch up. I look forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Damian, and you have a great day.